this is Lock and I from the Great Build YouTube channel, and this is a mega review. Today we're going to be covering two sets from the LEGO Ninjago Core Wave of 2022. We have the Ninja Training Course and the Ninja Dojo Temple set. The first set retails for $50 in the US, and the Ninja Dojo Temple does retail for around $100, but it might be a little bit more difficult to get your hands on it. Both these sets are able to combine with each other, and I will be showing that at the end of the video, so make sure that you watch all the way to the end to find out how you can combine them in multiple different ways. We're going to take a look at the sets one by one, and then I will show you all the things that you can do by putting them together. Ninja Training Ground set. This set particularly retails for $49.99 in the US, and is one of the biggest land builds for this whole season. This particular wave has been focused on the ninja and not the actual TV show, which allows them to take some creative liberties when creating a training course-like set that you can use for your ninja to train in. This particular set features 3 minifigures, 1 buildable figure, 1 spinner with ripcord and launcher, and a bunch of individual modular pieces that you can add to your display. We're going to start over here with the smaller of these builds. The first build that we have here is a snake pit, and it's just a simple fiery build with snakes in it, so it's a very small and interesting build. The idea is you're supposed to use the spinner to jump over the snake pit. And to do that, you will need this particular build right here. This build is a catapult using a barrel, and the idea is you can launch your spinner into the barrel, and as it's spinning, hit this to launch it forward, to allow it to jump a little bit, which could jump over the snake pit. Both these builds are cool individually. The catapult isn't very aesthetically pleasing for a display, but it is very fun for the play feature included, and is a very interesting build with neat pieces that you can use to build your own collection. Next up, we'll take a look at the buildable figure for this set. We get a snake dummy, which is very similar to the training dummies received in past models, except this one is larger than minifigure scale. I presume the idea of this is that you're supposed to be able to use the Spinjitzu spinner to be able to get the snake to knock over, but it could also be used just as play reference, and it could be an actual villain build as well if you wanted it to be. Next, we're going to take a look at each of these smaller builds independently. The first one we have here is a very simple training dummy. It does spin. It's very simple, not much to say about this, but it's cool that you can get these spike pieces, which I believe were previously released with our LEGO Mario sets. The next build is just a simple entranceway. There's not much to say here other than it does store one of Zane's extra swords. It does have very good detailing along with the Ninja logo and Ninjago on top of the door. Overall, this particular part of the build looks good, and it could easily be its own special building. The next part of this build is very cool. It's a punching bag, which is not very much used in previous Ninjago sets. They did use it once or twice in some legacy sets for training grounds, and they did reuse it for the second core wave on a spinning turbine-like structure. This particular punching bag can be moved around, and it's on the door to a front little building. This set also includes tiny clear pieces, so you can take your minifigure that wants to do some training, and you can also make it so that the minifigure looks like it's floating midair or falling or kicking the punching bag. The next part for this build really isn't anything special. It is just a very simple piece of land that's like a connector piece. This can be used to connect all of the other different builds together. And the other small thing is a snake target build. Your idea here is that your spinner is supposed to be able to hit the target on the snake, thus making the snake fall over. It's a very neat little idea, gives you a challenge, plus it could also be used as like a shrine for an anti-venom to the snakes or something like that as well. Now for the biggest part of this set. Let me remove the spinner so that we can get a better look at it. This particular part of the build is a giant archway of a mountain, along with a little gimmick at the top for you to be able to have your spinner go down a slide. The idea here is you launch your spinner into this barrel, and by basically just moving this, you should be able to get the barrel to move in this case, and that will allow the spinner to fall all the way down this hill. You could also use this, as seen earlier, that you can place the spinner inside of here as a storage stand. This allows it so that your spinner can be stored within the build, and it looks quite nice. Additionally, there are some nice tree elements on top using some honey green colored trees along with some medium nougat colored leaves as well. And on the front there's the ninja logo written in Ninjago again, and the collectible banner for this set, which contains a Spinjitzu banner this time. This is the only set to include this banner, but since all of the banners are collectibles anyway, this is just one of the sets you would want to get to collect all those banners. Now I'm going to show you how you can combine some of these things to create your very own display. First off, just to note, the catapult and the snake do not count towards the modular function because they do not connect to any Technic pins. However, the rest of these builds do. So let's start by taking a look at these sections. You can clip them in, you can see they're using Technic pins, and that just connects it so that you can connect other things to this. Additionally, you could connect the building entrance there, and for now we can just put the snake on the other side of the building, and that can be connected into one of two points on here. We're going to use this point for the aesthetically pleasing route, and we're also going to be able to connect the spinning blade area to the other side. This creates an already huge setup, and it can be rearranged however you would like. This also allows it to be connected to the other set in this review that we will talk about shortly. This is the second set for this review. This is the Ninjago Temple set. And this set is over 1,000 pieces and contains a total of 8 minifigures, 2 villains and 6 hero minifigures, as well as a very giant temple boat-loaded with different sorts of features that you might enjoy finding references to. First, we're going to take a look at this little side build to it here by moving this out of the way. The side builds for this set are interesting. You do get a villain side build, and it's a battering ram. We'll take a little bit more of a look at why they include this later, but it does use the Evo Mech armor cockpit piece in a very unique way. Additionally, there are spikes on the wheels, which you can imagine could be used to attack enemies with. The next side build we have here is Kai's Evo Mech. This is one of the 3 Evo mechs that were released overall, and the 4th of all the mechs released in the core waves. This particular set is one of the coolest mechs that we have so far because there is a modular option for you to add cannons to the shoulders of the mech. It uses the stud shooter feature, which I'm sure you all know how this works by now. You press on the tab and a stud shoots out. It is very easy to lose these studs, so I won't be demonstrating it here, sadly, because I do not want to risk losing more of them. However, you do get an extra part for each stud shooter in sets with these. There's also a socket on the other side, so you can build your own secondary cannon so that both shoulders have cannons on them. The legs are interestingly using the Evo armor piece in red, and the feet are very rounded octagon-like design that has a lot of gold detailing on it. The cockpit of the mech is much more simple than the other mechs, but it can still fit one minifigure, and on the front there is still the Ninja logo written in Ninjago on it. The fingers, I think, for this mech are probably the best point of the mech, because they can also be used as individual cannons on the fingers, which could be very fun if you're trying to reenact a battle with it. This is the other side build for this set that can directly connect to the main build. This is a training grounds connected to a bridge. The bridge will connect into the side of the temple, as we'll see shortly, but the concept here is you take these little flame pieces and you put them on these little tiki torch places, and your goal is to have Nia, the water ninja included in this set, fire her water blasts, which are also stored inside this container here, in order to be able to have the water knock all the fire out. It's a very unique play feature for this set, and there is also another interesting tree that's very similar to the tree colors and styles that we've seen in the last review for the ninja training area. Now let's take a look at how this connects to the big temple, and then we'll take a look at the temple itself, okay? Here we are. This is going to simply connect to the side here. It's very easy. It looks good, and the minifigures can still stand on the bridge as it goes through. We're going to take a look at the front here for a minute, and specifically the bottom of the front. This is where the feature of having a bulldozing ram type vehicle for the villains to use comes in play, because the villains here can basically ram into the side and break this entire wall down. It's a creative way to add some life to the build and add ways for the villains to have a slight chance of winning, which allows more playability with the set total. There's also a flag with the ninja's logo on it, along with another small tree on the front. The steps are probably the coolest design yet, using slopes on their sides, using snot bricks, which are studs not on top, for those of you that don't know. And there is also a bunch of little balcony pieces on the side here that are just for detail, but you can put a minifigure there. Coming to the front door, there are two giant lanterns using the pumpkin pieces along with the tassel pieces for weapons as well on it. And the doors themselves are the old-style doors that used to be used on old forts and castles that LEGO used to make, but this time outfitted with the new hinge connection and in bright red. You can open up the doors as shown here, and that allows you to access the inside to the temple. Right above that, we have a small roof up here that has like a dragon pattern in the center, and a smaller roof that goes even higher than that. I love the detailing on the roof style that they have here, since it's all sloped, and it makes it look very much like a Chinese/Japanese style building if you're looking for that kind of building, and it really fits the Ninjago aesthetic. Now we're going to take this model and flip it around so that we can take a look at all of the inside stuff within this build, because there is a lot going on here. We'll start at the bottom and move our way to the top. Right over here, you can see that there's a little tiny thing, console-looking thing here. You can pull this out to reveal an entire Samurai X cave placed right underneath this temple. It's a very useful build, and it does have all the extra ninjas' hair pieces, so you can put all the ninjas' hair pieces on the ninja instead of their helmets. Additionally, right next to it, there is a small pipe plumbing area with a little sink, and behind that, there's a small spider area. It's a little bit dark in there, so it may be difficult to see, but it is a fun little Easter egg if you can find the spider in there. And the other side is just wide open. This is because of the fact that the snakes try to break through the wall, and if there was something there, it would prevent the snakes from being able to completely break through. Up at the next level here, we have a tea drinking area. And with this tea drinking area comes one of the most useful stickers in any Ninjago set to date. This right here is a translation tablet with all the Ninjargon symbols with their corresponding English alphabet letter. This is very useful because now we have an official way in a set to be able to identify what the ninja are saying. Additionally, there's a teapot and a teacup as well as a small plant there. On the other side, we have a template in Ninjargon, as well as a bunch of training weapons, which include Zane's Shurikens of Ice and two of Lloyd's silver swords. Up on the next level, there's just mostly balconies and storage for weapons, such as Lloyd's sword again, and also for Nia's trident. Also at the middle here, this is an interesting Easter egg. This is our first appearance of looking directly at a picture of the first Spinjitzu master. It's on a little tiny 2x2 brick plate window tile, and this is easily the best part about this set, because up until now we did not have a clue what the first Spinjitzu Master actually looks like. So this provides us with some very much needed insight. And on the other side, there's just more weapon storage as usual. Now, if we move to the top of the build here, this is where things get a little interesting. There's a phone on the top of here that looks like it's calling another character, I guess to relate to a mission that you want to do or something, as well as an umbrella behind it. What's the purpose of the umbrella? I don't really know. It is kind of funny to see it there. Also, on the other side, you can see that there is a teacup that's spilled over a newspaper, which is a very funny addition. And don't think that directly ties to anything in the show, but it is something interesting to have, as well as 2 gold katanas laid out in the middle here. At the top of this particular build, there's a giant spire, and that makes this build one of the tallest LEGO Ninjago builds to date, without counting the UCS sets. One also interesting feature is these pots near the doorway here. But I will take a look at more about that after we finish talking about the build. There are some more lanterns up top which are very interesting, and the printing around this whole area says some really interesting things about Ninjago as a building style, and shows how really far we've come since the Fire Temple set in 2011. Now let me show you a little more about that feature in the pot I mentioned earlier, and then we will take a look at the minifigures for both of these sets. This is one of the pots that uses a little bowl piece along with 2 rounded pieces that allow you to hide something in them. Now, direct reference to Cole being in this set, Cole, as you may know, loves sweets, particularly cake, so it's kind of funny that they put a little tiny donut piece inside one of these little glass jars.